Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Whistling in the Dark, my weekly podcast and brainchild here at the Whittle household. Just trying to fill some time and entertain myself and you guys in the process. We'll see how it goes. Just a new thing for me, and hopefully it blossoms into something that everybody can enjoy. It's already been a pretty long day. Kids woke me up early. My 3-year-old was draped across me like some kind of exotic throw rug, and woke me up at around, 4 in the morning. And I couldn't get back to sleep, so I just kind of doom scrolled on my phone for a while on TikTok and found some funny, interesting videos on there, and ultimately ended up getting up and trying to start my day. But I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. It's not exactly the morning that I would want it. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. Sometimes getting an axe kick to the throat isn't the best thing in the world, but I'm sure I'm going to miss it when I'm older and not able to snuggle quite as much with them. So, yep. Anyway, I'm not sure that pouring out the contents of this addled mind would be the best thing in the world for me to do. It might be disastrous. But it might be entertaining too. Who knows? We'll see. I plan on talking about just about anything that comes into my mind. I have a loose, not script, but a few things that interested me throughout the week, and my plan is to kind of address them here and see what you guys think. You can write your comments down below there, and you can give me some ideas too. Say, hey, maybe address this next week. Give me your take. And I'd be more than happy to give you an alternative take on things. So, got family night tonight. I'm going to end up whipping up some sushi and crab rangoon for the troops. I really love having them over. And, keeping that tight-knit family going. My life really mainly consists of making tiny humans not die. So it's nice when I have some adults to come over and really hang out, and somebody I can talk to about more complex things than Bluey and Princess Elsa, things of that nature. Not that there's not value in that, but it is nice to have somebody who understands the stress of the day and life weighing down on you to bounce things off of. And it's a luxury that I have. I have kids of all stages of development, and it's really nice. I enjoy it. One of my adult daughters, Mara, I don't know if any of you guys know her, but good kid. She recently gave me a book the other day. It was, Dad, I want to know about your life. Kind of an interesting uh, gift. Like, here, Dad, here's some homework for you. I need you to sit down and, you know, write a couple hundred pages about what you remember about your life and all these questions about, hey, where were you born and what was your favorite color growing up? And I don't know. There's 1,000 different questions in this thing, and I did what pretty much any man would do, and I pawned most of that off on my mother because I didn't know half of the shit. It's yeah, most of that I got cleared out for memory space. I've reached my max capacity. My SD card is full. And I'm down to only the short-term access memory. But it's an interesting little thing. I'd like to get it done and hand it back to her. I don't think my life is that interesting that anybody would want to read that. But it's flattering that she, considered that something that she wanted to have in her collection in her library. Maybe someday when, I take the big dirt nap, she can read through that and get a couple chuckles out of it. So I also have a cookbook that I'm trying to finish for her and not going well. So I need to do that. Of course, I don't know why she would even need that anyway, because she doesn't cook. Her husband does all the cooking. So maybe I'll give it to him. Yeah, I think that would be the use of that. But yeah, so this is going to be a situation where I'm going to try and touch base with you guys every week, and I'll be taking notes, journaling, doing some things throughout the week that I find interesting, that I have questions about, that I think that you guys might be able to give me a different perspective about. And hopefully I will be able to answer some of these life questions that I've got and help me to grow as a person. Be nice. Don't think my ability to deal with these things is great. I don't think it's any secret that my life hasn't been going fantastically right now, but I'm getting through things and I'm working through things, and this is one of the things that I've chosen to do to kind of take my mind off of things. So, yeah. Mother's Day it's coming up, and want to give a big shout out to all those mothers out there, who have devoted themselves, their blood, sweat, and tears to their children. Uh, would love to hear some of your all's stories about your mom. Just like one story that, kind of sticks out in your mind. And, that's my mom. And this is something that, makes me think of her or something like that. For me, I have lots of memories of my mom. I'm not saying that she's gone. She's still alive, giving me the business all the time and sending me, little cutesy memes on Facebook and stuff, in between her, talking about how Democrats are the devil and stuff like that, then she'll post something that's, you know, saccharine sweet on there. But no, I think one of my more pleasant memories of my mom is I do remember how I lived in a little apartment, St. Joe off of Sherman Avenue, that had lilac bushes in the backyard, and my mom loves the smell of lilacs. And I'll never forget, as a kid, we kept the windows open quite a bit, and the smell of those lilac bushes would waft through the windows. It's just a sublime floral scent. And I do remember my mom, rubbing my belly and singing a lullaby to me, which I think was Brahms' lullaby. And she added words to it. And I think I was in my 30s when I realized that she didn't make that song up, that it was, a well-known song, but it was a nice, memory to have that, she would sit there and comfort me, and, between the smell of the lilacs and her gentle touch and her sweet sing to me, very comforting. And I try and do that for my children. But I didn't sing the lullaby that she did. No, I would sing like Red Hot Chili Peppers and I don't know, Jason Mraz, different things, more contemporary at the time. But try and carry on the tradition there. So happy Mother's Day, Mom. Love you bunch. If you're watching. So sorry if this isn't going real smooth. I'm still new at this, and it's not very seamless, not very smooth. But I'm working on it. It's a work in progress. I blame processed foods. Just probably that Twinkie I ate back in 1984 that did the damage. I remember when I was a kid, just sitting on the front porch and chowing down on one of those foods that probably had, God knows, lead and asbestos, red number 43 or whatever the fuck it is. Excuse my French. And, local city worker spraying DDT into my face. Shit, that was health food back then. We didn't know any better. They were just gassing the whole neighborhood. And I'm just sitting there like Pigpen from Peanuts in the cloud of DDT. And I'll never forget that smell. It just sickly sweet, acrid smell. If anybody's my age and you know what DDT smells like, man. And you just kind of sat there and man, had a headache when I was out there smelling that stuff. And all of a sudden the trees started talking to me, and it's killing brain cells is what I'm trying to say. I just gassing the entire neighborhood and nobody knowing that, it's highly carcinogenic, or at the very least, probably causing lung damage to every child 3-block radius. So that's kind of funny. Oh man. So yeah, this week when shit's getting weird, our president, and don't worry, I'm not going to make this a political podcast. I'd like to keep away from politics as much as possible on this thing, but it was something I thought, holy shit. Our president, on the week that the Pope died, posted a AI generated photo of himself on his Truth social media of him dressed up as the Pope himself. And I don't know, man. I just think that's, I mean, I'm not religious at all, but I think that would be hard to reconcile if you were Catholic and you saw him putting that out there. I don't know how you give him a pass on something like that. It seems pretty disrespectful, but I mean, nothing about that man really surprises me. He's a goober. But anyway, thought I would ask the question that's been on my mind all week, see what everybody thinks. You know, what is everybody's greatest fear? You know, um, I think for parents, it's pretty universal. You know, something happening to our kids, losing our kids. You know, and in a way, I'm kind of living that fear. Just again for the third time, and this time not of my doing. Um, but life goes on. You just got to make the best of the time that you have with them, and you know, do do your best. Um, yeah. What's everybody's favorite? Biggest fear. Shoot. For some people, it's death. Other people, it's just I don't know, feeling of inadequacy, like they're not good enough for somebody, or I mean, some people, their greatest fear is more base needs, like, oh God, where's my next meal coming from? And am I going to be able to pay the bills and keep a roof over my head? And these are very real fears right now. So I can empathize with that. Um, some people have fears of clowns and little people, spiders. Shoot. Phobias. Interesting things, irrational fears of fairly benign things. I'd like to hear yours. So put your comments in, and we can address that maybe later. But, like I said, my biggest fear is kind of happening right now, and I have the inevitable loss of my kids half of the time, as my wife and I are, going our separate ways. And I've dealt with that sadness in my own way, that sorrow, the loss of my wife and best friend. And soon I will have to, deal with the loss of my children as well. And my family has been just absolutely amazing in supporting me and, keeping me grounded and sane. And I find other things to do, try and keep my brain occupied and not go into those dark places that I don't want to go, but that my brain wants to take me. And I wonder, you know, um, is sadness voluntary? Is it a choice that we make to be sad? Because at first it's reactionary. It's one of these things where the shock of something that we don't want to have happen to us. God just lays us low, um, and it's how we deal with the shock and how we proceed forward. I've never been good with um, shock and sadness of that sort. Um, I've always been terribly reactionary and say and do things that end up causing, in the long run, more damage than good. I have a tendency to want to lash out and hurt the other person as much as they've hurt me, in some sort of deranged, misguided attempt at mm, forcing empathy onto them. Uh, and it never works. That person ends up getting hurt by my words, and then they're resentful and angry at me, and then just starts this vicious cycle that's so hard to get out of. You say things that you don't mean, they say things that they don't mean, and before you know it, just all hell breaks loose and everybody hates everybody, and it's just not good. So, you know, how do you choose and what you do um, to cope with loss and sadness? I think says a lot about where you are um, emotionally. Um, I think a lot of people have different coping mechanisms. Obviously, some people visit certain places that provide them comfort. I know I'm one of those. I enjoy certain places around the city that I derive good energy from. Um, Problem is that a lot of these places you frequented with the person that is hurting you. So you go to this place and you're expecting to feel good and you're expected to feel better about the situation, but you might just end up triggering yourself because you're like, damn, I remember this time when I was here with this person, or it would be nice to spend it with this person or whatnot. But so not all that's not always a good thing to do, because if the emotions are still very raw and you haven't processed through that and healed enough, going to one of these places might just have a paradoxical effect on you and cause you more pain than you know um, emotional nurturing, I guess. Some people turn to foods. um, I did the opposite. I have a tendency to just kind of lose my appetite, starve myself out a little bit. This is not the diet plan I would recommend for anyone, but I lost quite a bit of weight the first time that this happened, and hey, maybe I can get a more healthy diet plan and workout routine. I have more time now, huh? But yeah, activities. You can do certain things like a podcast, like what I'm doing now. I feel like this is going to be good for me to occupy my brain. And if I keep it up weekly, like I plan on doing, then I can kind of just, again, keep myself busy and occupied, do homework, and be like, oh, there's something, and I can journal and write down certain thoughts and, how I feel about that. Share it with you guys if you're interested in hearing it. And I hope, future shows are going to be more lighthearted, and I'm going to try and bring my own brand of humor. Not everybody likes it. Some people think it's great. Other people are like, you're the dumbest human being I've ever met. But, at any rate, I just hope it's entertaining for everybody. And, I'm also going to have a different kind of podcast here soon. And within the next week, I think on the 13th is when my other one I'm going to have, with my brother Kurt and a buddy of mine, Dave. And that one's more for, entertainment purposes. We're going to have a lot of variety of different topics to discuss as far as what we all find fascinating and interesting. And, we're going to come up with subject matter and have a variety of different outlooks and opinions and how we feel on these different topics. And it should be fun. It's going to be a gas to get us all together and, rag on each other. It's going to be something that we have been wanting to do for a long time. And I hope that takes off and we all really enjoy it. So, but yeah. Anyway, hey guys, I need to probably wrap this up, but I would like to get some more ideas from you guys. If you have any questions you want to ask me, try and keep them not terribly personal. But if you can ask me anything from, what's my shoe size to how do I feel about the world economy, and I'd be more than happy to answer them. Just write it down in the comments down there, and I'll give you my take on it. And yeah, I'm just gonna be here having fun every week with you guys. Hope that you choose to tune in, and we can have some fun together. Have a lot more things to say, a lot more subject material to go over and opine on, and should be a lot of fun. I'm hoping that this takes off. I really do, because I'm excited about this, and I really want to share it with anybody who's interested. So, again, inaugural one, kind of rough, but I'm gonna get more polished, get better. I'm gonna have more things to talk about that are gonna be more lighthearted, that are gonna be just more entertaining, less heavy. I mean, not that I won't come back on here and be like, "Chew, rough week." we've had this happen and whatever. But, I'm going to try and discuss, things that have happened through the week. Again, trying to stay away from politics because it's kind of a volatile subject and not everybody agrees, clearly. But, who knows? We can talk about whatever we want. Open forum. So, I've enjoyed my time with you guys. Hopefully, next week we can smile more, laugh more, and enjoy our lives more than we have. So, this is me signing off. Love you guys. See you around.